people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. If that sounds like something you are interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the family. Okay, y'all already saw for today we're going to be doing a review of the Adept Cosmetics House of Elle palette. So this is a limited edition palette from Adept Cosmetics. I'm gonna read a little bit about what the palette description says. For this review, it's gonna be a little bit different, okay? So like I always do, I'm gonna give you all a little bit of product details as it relates to the palette. I will not be doing live swatches, but I will insert some b-roll of the palette swatched, and then I'm actually gonna be giving you guys two looks on this palette, and I will come back and give you all my final thoughts. I'm going to do my best to remember to put in some timestamps throughout the video so you can jump around if there are specific parts of the video that you want to focus on. Okay, let's dive into some product details. What I love on Adept's website is that there's always this little piece that says, please read before you buy so you know what you're getting into. So it says, create Kryptonian looks with our House of Elle palette. We created this palette in honor of our love of Christopher Reeve's portrayal of Superman, as well as our love of the Grant Morrison version of Superman in the comics. Fun fact, I am a huge fan of Superman. Well, mainly Smallville. I grew up watching Smallville. I love Smallville. I literally still watch it to today. Till today, I have the DVDs as well that I refuse to get rid of, even though we have streaming platforms. So that is what inspired me to pick up this palette. So it is a very limited edition palette, as they say here. And it says to keep it in a cool, dry place. The shimmers in this palette are very shimmery and will require a good primer to prevent fallout. These are not a typical powder, but they're cream gel formula, so they will move around. So I can attest to that these are very, very creamy. They are almost wet, and they don't really work well with most brushes. So you get 3 mattes, 5 multichromes, and 1 shimmer. It's free of glitter, talc, and mineral oil. It's a magnetic palette with 23mm removable magnetic pans. So if you want to take these out and put them into your own palette, you can do that. And it says that the packaging is made of 80% recycled materials. So if you want specific details on the ingredients, it is included here as well. But I don't see anything about this being cruelty-free or vegan. Now, one of the issues that I have with the Adept Cosmetics packaging is that there is no information about the palette on the packaging. So just to show you guys, this is the front of the House of Elle palette. You see it has the blue packaging with the orange, well, I guess it's like a red-orange writing, very Superman, you know, reminiscent. And then on the back, there is a quote. Now, a lot of other palettes will include details on the back, like the shelf life, where the product was made, and whether it's cruelty-free and vegan. So you don't get that on this palette or any of the Adept Cosmetics palette. And I find that I'm not seeing this on the website either. So if you know, please put it down in the comments, or I will, if I find out, I'll put it down in the description box. Now, as far as I know, well, before we get there, this palette does retail for $49 USD. It is pretty pricey considering that some of the other Adept Cosmetics palette retail for $56, which is not significantly more, but there are significantly more shades in it. You only get 9 shades in this palette. Now, as far as I know, and the way Adept Cosmetics explained it on their Instagram, is that this palette is not made where they make their other palettes. So this is actually made in the USA. Their other palettes are made in China, I believe. And because of that, they couldn't get this at the same price, so the price point to make this was higher, which makes this palette more expensive. That's what they said. So it retails for $49 USD. So let me open this up and show you guys what the palette looks like. So like it says, you get 3 matte shades, and you can see those 3 matte shades at the bottom. And I believe, let me go back. And then you get 5 multichromes and 1 shimmer. I don't know which one is just the shimmer. I think this shade is just the shimmer. Or yeah, this shade, Kal-El. Is Kal-El just the shimmer? I'm not sure which one is just the shimmer. I'm gonna say that. Wait, let me see if I can figure this out. It has to be Kal-El, right? I don't know which one is the shimmer. I'm assuming it's this one here, Kal-El. But that would be so sad because Kal-El is Clark Kent, aka Superman's name. So why would he be the basic shimmer and everybody else is a multichrome? Anyway, the most interesting multichrome in this palette is Zor-El, this one right here. And I'm like, shouldn't that have been Kal-El? Okay. So let me just scooch these aside a little bit. I will insert some swatches of the palette here. You can see that these swatches were actually taken, well, the video for these swatches were taken outside in direct sunlight. I do think that this palette swatches really well. These are 1 to 3 swipe swatches each for each shade. And you can see that it's very pigmented. I love the way that they're swatched, but as you know, swatches don't give the full picture. So you really have to take into account how they're gonna perform on the eye. So now that we've gotten the product details and the swatches out of the way, let's dive into 2 eye looks. Full transparency, the first eye look is going to be a hard fail. No fault of the palette, I just did some things that I shouldn't have done. So the first look is going to be a complete fail, and the second look will be this look that you guys see right here. All right, let's transition into those 2 looks, and then I will come back at the end and give you guys my final thoughts. Okay, so my lids are primed and ready to go, so let's just dive into this baby. I'm honestly probably going to only use these 4 shades. Yeah, I want to keep it a little simple today, so let's just dive in. So first things first, I'm going to go in with the shade Eric L. And it's a really, really nice transition shade. It is, I would say, perfect for like a medium tan complexion. I'm really just gonna concentrate that into this inner part of the eye here. And one of the things that I really like about this, well, not really like, but one of the things that I like about this palette is that the mattes perform so much better in this one compared to the Heather Austin palette. You guys know I had a ton of issues using that palette. If you haven't seen that video, it will be linked in the description box below, and I definitely recommend that you check it out. And I think part of the reason why these mattes perform better is because this shadow is actually not made in the same place where the Heather Austin palette is made. As far as I understand, most of Adept's palettes are made in China, but this one was made in the USA, so there's that. So this matte is applying really well, it is blending really easily, and it's not getting patchy. And as I add more pigment, it's layering really well also. So I'm not seeing any real issues with this. Okay, next I'm gonna go into the green shade. It is Con L, and I'm actually gonna put that into the outer part of the eye as sort of another transition shade. Just picking up a little bit of that on the brush, and I'm gonna blend that into the orange. This one is applying a little bit more patchy than the first shade. But as I go in with more products and build it up and blend it together, it is getting rid of that patchiness. Like I said, the Adept Cosmetics mattes are not my favorite. Definitely not my favorite matte formula, but this one works better than the Heather Austin palette mattes. And then really quickly, I'm gonna go back into the first shade, Eric L, and I'm gonna just blend those 2 shades together just a little bit more. I feel like it's looking a little harsh in terms of the blend. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more of that and blend those 2 together. And then lastly, I'm gonna go into the last matte. This is Mon L. It's a really, really bright, almost neon orange. And I'm going to plop that into the outer corner of the eye and blend that into the inner V. Well, basic inner V? Outer V. Yeah, I'm just blending that neon orange shade into this outer part here. Now this shade does get a little patchy. It's definitely not my most favorite. It's my least favorite matte from this palette. And I don't know if you can see, there's some weird like stippling that's happening in the shade that just very confusing. I don't know what that's about. I don't like how this is blending. Like, this is getting real muddy. Not a fan. Okay, there's a very real chance that I'm gonna wipe all of this off because I do not like where this is going. And what is happening? I'm so sorry, y'all. Doing my best. Okay, next I'm gonna go into this shade Zorel. Now these shimmer shades are very, very wet, so they don't really pick up that well with a brush, but I have no issues picking up with my finger. So I'm just gonna plop that into, right into the center of the lid here. Like, this is the most beautiful shade in this palette. And next I'm gonna go into Allure Zorel. Oh, and this shade is Zorel, so I'm gonna go into Allure Zorel, which is more orange. And I'm gonna put that into the inner parts of the eye. And you can see it kind of just blends into that one. This is probably one of the ugliest looks I've ever made. And now I'm just going to try to blend this shimmer. Back to myself. Okay, so this is look number one. I do not like this, so I'm going to wipe this off my eyes and I'm going to come back and give y'all another look because this looks so bad. So bad. I am so very sorry, y'all. I tried. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, let's try this again. Whoo child. Okay, so I'm again gonna go back into the shade Eric L. I don't think I'm gonna mess with that green shade today because I think that just made this muddy AF. So let's keep it simple. So I'm gonna take that shade and use it as a nice transition shade all throughout the crease. I'm just blending that out. Using it everywhere in my crease. Next, I'm gonna go back into Mon-El, the orange matte, and I am going to try to do a bit of a halo eye. So I'm just gonna start by plopping that into the inner part of the eye, and then I'll bring it into the outer part as well.
He lost his mind. There was another. He up and walked right out the door. No one hears from him no more. I don't know what happened. I don't know where they went, but I bet
you see what's happening here? That is what was happening with the Heather Austin palette. That kind of weird patchiness. Like, it's not as bad as the other one, but it's still pretty bad. I don't know what it is with Adept mattes that just don't agree. And it doesn't matter what I use to prime my lid. If I use a concealer, if I use an eyeshadow primer. Like, this side is a little bit better, and I don't know. It's like, why? What did I do to deserve this? Okay, next I'm gonna go back into Zorel. It is such a beautiful shade. I can't help but always want to reach for this. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that on a brush because I'm gonna start by putting that into not directly into the center, but sort of into the outskirts of that space that I created. Such a pretty shade. It's coming to get ya. I let karma come and get ya. It's coming to get ya. It's coming to get ya. It's coming. And then I'm gonna go into Cara Zorel. This is Clark's cousin. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that on my finger and I'm gonna plop that into the center. Right there.
How you treat me, baby, that's a golden rule. And when we're overcomers coming after you.
And I'll take a little bit more of Zorel and kind of blend that into Cara Zorel. And that's gonna be my halo eye for this look.
Come and get ya. It's coming to get ya. It's coming to get ya.
It's looking alright. I'm gonna do the same thing on this eye and then I will go back in with the mattes and do a little bit of blending to make this a little less harsh.
Karma, come and get ya. I had a lover, never treated me right. Last I heard, he lost his mind. There was another.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave the eyes like this. I just don't want to do anything else. I'm gonna finish up the rest of my face and I'll be right back. Show you guys the final look and let you all know my thoughts on this palette.
But I bet they won't do it again. I've been watching everything you do. Go ahead and act a fool. I'll let karma come and get ya. Think I'm stupid and you're so smooth. Boy, the joke's on you. I'll let karma come and get ya. It's coming.
Okay guys, I'm back and this is the final look. Let me just quickly tell you what I'm wearing on the rest of my face. For lips, I'm actually wearing my Fenty Beauty Freckled Fiesta. This is an old one from the Mattemoiselle line. I love this one. It's like my favorite orange lipstick for my complexion. So I always go to this when I'm doing something that's a little bit more on the orangey side. For blush, I actually went in with two different blushes. So I actually started with my Cover FX blush in the shade Warm Honey. And I thought that it was a little too dusty for this look. So I topped that off with, nope, this is the wrong one, with the Fiesta blush from One Size Beauty. So these two I kind of mixed together for this blush. For my bronzer, I'm using my Colored Rain bronzer in the shade Cinnabe. I used that in a previous video, so I'll link that video down there below too as well. And that's pretty much sort of the main products. I am wearing my Charlotte Tilbury foundation because I love that one specifically for filming. And yeah, this is it. Final face. Okay, now let's talk about this House of Elle palette because I got some thoughts. So as you already saw from the first eye look, it was a complete fail. And I honestly think that you should not mix the green and the orangey way that I did. So here's the deal with this palette. Adept Cosmetics should just stop making mattes. I am going to say it. Like, their mattes are one of the worst matte formulas that I have ever used. I've always struggled with their mattes. This is better than the matte formula in the Heather Austin palette as well as in the Cordan palette, but is still not a good matte formula. As for the shimmers though, stunning, fabulous. I love the shimmers in this palette. And this is definitely more of a review than a first impressions because this look is my fourth look with this palette. So I think I have a very good feel for this. Now, overall, the shimmers in this are definitely that sort of wet formula. It's a very wet texture. It does not pick up very well with the brush. With a brush, you should really use your fingers if you want to pick it up. But I love the kind of wet look that it gives on the eyes. I really love sort of the dimension that it gives. It's a very, very sort of shiny, sparkly, in-your-face shimmer formula. Now, my favorite shimmer shade in this palette is the one here. It's called Zorel. I think that this has a really good shift, really good dimension. You can see that green to orange shift. It's very, very strong. And I think that this is a really nice shade that you can just use by itself. When it comes to this palette, I feel like if you use these shimmers and you reach into another palette for the mattes, you will get superb look. These mattes just aren't it. They really aren't. Especially this orange shade. And I don't know if you guys can really see, but there is this sort of weird grainy texture that is popping up in these two shades that I'm just like, what is this? It doesn't, I've never had that happen to an eyeshadow before, so I don't know what's going on there. These two shades, I didn't use any of these in today's look, but I have used the blue and the green, and I really, really like how those are. They're definitely lighter shades. I think that they would look really good if you just did a halo eye using this green shade and then plopping one of these two in the center of the lid. I think it'd be an absolutely stunning halo eye. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is that when you put Zorel next to Allura Zorel, these two shades blend into each other and become the same shade. Now that I think is a little bit unfortunate, because what it means is that you essentially have two of the same shade, and for a palette that retails for $49, it is kind of unacceptable to have two shimmer shades be the exact same, especially when the star of this, and what I assume is the most costly part of this, is the shimmer shades. Do I like this palette? Yes, I actually really do like this palette. Aside from the failed look that I had before, which I think was entirely my fault, I really like the shimmers in this palette, and I definitely think that I'm going to reach for these and use them. Do I think that it's worth the $49? Honestly, I don't think so. I think the mattes in this are so bad that, one, they should have been replaced with shimmers to begin with, and two, if you really think about it, it's like 6 really good shimmer shades for $49. I don't know, that math ain't mathin' for me. And I think another side comment that I want to make about this is that this is inspired by Superman. Obviously, House of L, you know, Superman, his name is Kal-El, and then you have all of the characters that represent the House of L in this palette. And the palette is, there's no red and there's no real blue in it. Which for me, when I think Superman, I always think of red and blue. And when I saw this release, it was like, okay, there's a matte green, you get some oranges, which I can kind of see. You get this really nice red-ish pink shade, and this is kind of a red, but it's honestly more of an orange. It was like, where's the red? Where's the blue? And the only blue we have is this light blue here, but we do get 2 greens. So for me, the color story felt a little bit off, but I don't regret having this palette. I am going to use it. I do really like these shimmer shades in here. I think they perform well. I wish I could just throw these mattes away. But yeah. Anyways, so like I said in the intro, or should have said in the intro, this palette is available as of the filming of this video, which is Saturday, June 25th. And it retails for $49. This is the last restock of this palette. Like I said, this is a limited edition palette, so it is not coming back. If you miss it, you miss it. But I don't think that you have to have this, and considering the price, it might be worth it to spend your money elsewhere. Just saying. And I have nothing against Adept Cosmetics. I have more of their palettes, and I like some of their other palettes. They are one of the more expensive indie brands. So when it comes to spending money, I'm trying to just give you all my thoughts on what is actually worth it for the price. Okay? Alright. Anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you've tried the House of L palette, if you've tried the Adept Cosmetics formula and you like it, especially as it relates to the mattes, because if I'm doing something wrong and there's a way to manipulate these mattes so they work, please let me know that in the comments below, because I just don't want to be out here bashing the product if it's like, okay, girl, you're not doing the right thing. So just let me know if you found a way to manipulate these mattes that makes sense. Alright, so like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend if you think they like the content. As always, I love you guys. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye!